and welcome to a large group of male contributors. I'm just going to break that up for you. What is being at a digital conference if there aren't a few women? So, what is television? I'm really happy that you just called it TV 2.0. I think we're at 3.0, we were sort of saying in the green room. But I'm sure you've all read who's on this panel. Rather than having to recap over that, I think we'll just start off with a few questions from me, and then we'll open up to you guys. So get thinking what you want to ask. Quite a wide variety of new, or not so new, on some of them, TV networks online. So I just wanted to ask, we still use traditional TV terms like network, channel, show in this whole world. And I just thought maybe we could kick off with each of you in turn. We'll start with Rio, because you're next to me. So explaining what you think those particular terms mean in the context of your business.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, if you go back 100 years or 50 years, it's natural human nature to take the context of the familiar and project it into the future or into the present. So we don't know, when television was invented, people put radio and theater, on television. And so today we use the parlance of the past to describe, what we don't quite understand in the future. So things like networks, channels, shows, programming, those are things everybody understands. But the reality is, they're probably not entirely accurate, the definitions of what those mean traditionally today. But the reality is there are people who create content, there are people who distribute it, there's a spectrum of engagement in between. And I think that, but the true sense of what is a channel and what is a network, aggregation, audience distribution, those things are true today. So in our company, VEVO, we are aggregating content from most of the world's professional music companies. We are creating our own programming at the same time, and we are distributing it ourselves. So we're a network, we're also a platform, but we're also working with YouTube. So it's very porous.
And also competing against YouTube.
I would say we're more partners than we are competitors.
Of course.
But I think that at the end of the day, it's possible to be a channel, a network, a platform, a creator, all at the same time in this day and age.
Okay, Alan?
Yeah, I think when we think about it in the progression of television, when you think about the broadcasters was the first wave of television programming brands, ABC, CBS, and NBC in the United States, and then the cable networks came around because of cable infrastructure. We're seeing a whole new type of video programming brand. I think one of the keys is that it's not just on television. I think one of the things that's created a lot of scale for us, and we're doing about close to 1 billion video views a month to about 105 million uniques around the world, is the fact that all these devices are around. In the United States, we used to talk about 100 million households, but now you really think about 1 billion devices, because you watch these types of videos at home, at school, at the office, and on all sorts of devices, the iPad, the iPhone, et cetera. The second thing I think that's really contributing to how fast these networks are growing and why it's so disruptive, I think, to the traditional television model is that we are instantly global. We're global networks. That's one of the great things about YouTube. And if you think about YouTube as kind of like a killer MSO, you're on every device and you're in every country from the day you launch. And both of those things are creating real paradigm shifts in how much money it takes to scale these networks and how much time it takes to scale these networks.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, so I think it's a great question to think about how we describe what we do and the terms there. But in the end, I think we see the same thing with this new medium. And internet video, to me, is very much a new medium that we saw in the days of when the internet came out with magazines. And I was lucky enough to work in the magazine space, Special Interest Magazine. I see Eric Capot there. I worked with Eric. And we were the first people to put our magazine articles, our reviews online. And we just took the reviews and put them online. And over time, that changed to be blog posts, and it changed to be social networks, and the text and photo web became what it is today. But we're still in that, we're still in the cow path mode where, if you look at a field where cows walk to their food, and if you move their food, they walk to their food, and then they walk over to where the food is now rather than going on the diagonal. And we're still in the process of figuring out that diagonal, and part of that is coming up with what those new terms are. And for us, it kind of sits at the middle of special interest magazine publishing, traditional television, as well as a little bit of talk radio. And I don't think we have the right terms for it yet, whether it's authentic personality sitting at the core, or it's clips, or it's shows. So, if anybody wants to come up with those terms, we should probably do it and then go on Twitter to vote on them.
Okay, maybe we'll do that. Sorry, so coming on to YouTube?
Yeah,
Patrick?
well, I was, before YouTube, I was involved in one of the first web TV ventures in 2000, and we were always trying to come up with new terms. It's a viewer, it's a user, it's a viewser. It's a vertical, it's a portal, it's a vortal, and it became ridiculous as things have evolved, and you extend the dialogue to people that are from both traditional media and from original content creators. Having some terminology that is comprehensible also to advertisers is important, and we seem to be settling on terms that are already quite familiar to people.
You're going quite traditional with the channels and.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, a channel is really a place where curation takes place. Where people pull together similar or like-minded content into something that makes sense for a user, or at least it's a way for them to organize their content, even if the user comes in and interacts with individual videos. A network in our world would be someone like Machinima or Revision 3 that operates a number of channels within the YouTube environment. But what's different online is that a show in itself can be a channel. So the X Factor is a very, very robust channel on YouTube, as is Top Gear. But in a TV world, that would be part of BBC Worldwide, or that would be part of ITV. So I think the users really don't care so much, though. They just want to know they can get it. They know that they want to get it very flexibly on the device that they're using at the time. They may tap into one individual show or a clip, or they may subscribe to a channel, but the most important thing to them is that the content they like is there.
Okay. And finally?
Well, people have said a lot of good stuff so far.
Sorry, we'll reverse it next time.
I don't love channel and shows. I've never loved that much personally. Back when we were doing Lonely Girl, Greg and I were trying to come up with what the hell to call the thing that we had made. We liked the phrase social show, but that never really caught on. But I always thought that was kind of descriptive because it really was this interactive thing that we were producing. Now with all the different celebrity sites that we're operating, I think network is very appropriate. And I would actually say that the concept of a network and the actual in practice implementation of a network in digital is a lot more real than it was in the traditional world. I mean, in the traditional world, they were called networks not because you clicked on a channel, but because they were a network of local affiliates that all could broadcast the same content. And I think now more than ever, that's really relevant. So I think a lot. I think, like for Lauren Conrad, for instance, I think of Lauren Conrad as a network. And the reason she's a network is because of her Twitter account and her YouTube and her Facebook and her website, all of which have many, many, many users who are part of this sort of meta social network that is her brand. So that's how I kind of think about it.
Okay, so lots of terms still very familiar. And I mean, Patrick wanted to pick up on a point you've just made there, talking about users not really caring about how they access content, what it's called, they just want it there really easily. And what certainly strikes me in the British market is we still go to the channels catch-up players a lot. We still go to the BBC iPlayer, we still go to ITV. We don't actually, in our droves, go to a site like Hulu. We don't have anything like that can succeed. So I suppose this is to all of you, but I thought we could start with YouTube, is aggregation not actually that popular? Do we still like traditional channels? Because it seems in the UK market, we want to be able to go somewhere which we know is going to give us that content in one place, how we've sort of been used to it.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. It's like the discussion about whether it should be paid or free. It really is circumstantial. We see ourselves as a gathering place for all types of content, from individual creators to major networks. And Channel 4 and Channel 5 actually put all full-length catch-up programming on YouTube. It's kind of like if you know Harrods in the UK. There are people that go to Harrods for a browsing experience, to go to, for one reason, to meet friends, to share experiences, or maybe to go to a particular store, but they may come across something else they didn't intend to. But at the same time, Gucci, although they're in, as an example, Gucci may be in Harrods, they also have a street on a shop on the high street where people may go very particularly to that place. So aggregation is still very important, because it also, if you're a content creator, working with aggregators and having your own site extends the possibility of touching and reaching a consumer. So I think being open to working with aggregators as well as having your own site and extending onto places where people gather like Facebook is absolutely critical, because the chances of getting it wrong are very big if you pick just one route.
But how are you, I'll come back in on that in 1 minute, but how is YouTube specifically, just while I've got Patrick's attention, going to make that journey? Because I still don't think you've made it from dogs on skateboards to being a home of professional content in people's minds.
Yeah, I think it's a dirty little secret. We actually have over 20,000 partners, many of which are big brands that you might have heard of, like the Olympics, like Disney, like Channel 4 and ITV and Rai, and it's a question of relative scale. We have 3 billion views a day. That's up 50% since last year. There's 48 hours of content uploaded every minute of every day, up from 30 hours a minute last year. This isn't just dogs on skateboards. This is a blend of content that's original creators, it's major media companies, it's news providers, it is magazines who've now switched to produce video to reach their targeted audience. And so, I think, at least in my world, we're way past that conversation with the advertisers. We're way past the conversation of YouTube being about dogs on skateboards.
I know you're way past with the advertisers.
Yeah.
I just suppose with
but it is,
but
it is
I do want to
definitely
bring in other
evolved.
people. Sorry.
Yeah.
Alan, do you wanted to?
Well, yeah, I mean, we focus exclusively on YouTube as a platform, and what we see drives traffic really is all of the above. Part of it is curation, part of it is driving promotion, but over the course of, say, 30 or 60 days, search is a huge component of it. And I think one of the things that's really interesting is if you think about YouTube's scale and the amount of content on YouTube, how much of it is music video content, how much of it's gaming content. These are two categories that in linear television have not done terribly well, but part of the reason is search. If you're a Lady Gaga fan, you may not be a Kanye West fan. If you're a if you're a Call of Duty fan, you may not be a fan of another type of a game. So I think that the combination of recommendation engines, search, and actual curation, really that blend is what makes the magic sauce, and at least for us on YouTube.
We believe there's real value and power in aggregation, but I think that web is ultimately about consumer choice.
Right.
And so, in the U.S., television shows were on every network's website, catch-up TV, but why should the burden be on the consumer to figure out where to go to watch it? Right? They don't know what network a show is on, or whether it's going to be there or not. And so putting everything together in one place provides convenience for people. You don't have to worry about, is it going to be there or not. So there's value in curation, there's value in aggregation, but that shouldn't be the, we believe that you should let people drink from any tap or faucet they want to. So if I want to go to ladygaga.com, they want to go to Facebook, they want to go to Yahoo or AOL, they want to go to YouTube, they want to go to VEVO, they should have that choice, because the web is about choice, and you should do what you want to do and go where you want to go, and not be told what to do.
Well, the problem with brands and networks and aggregation is that they get in the way. They're like dating sites and dating consultants. Once you meet someone and fall in love with them, you don't need those people in the middle anymore. And that's what I think the internet does so well with internet video, is it allows a direct connection between content creator and audience. And once that beautiful piece of magic happens, you need to back away and let that go. And we're kind of in the middle of a test, because we believe that you need to be everywhere and that every glowing rectangle ultimately is a TV. But we've created a wide range of apps that run across everything from the smallest smartphone to the biggest smart TV. We've done the Revision 3 app, and Revision 3 means something. It means intelligent content for guys 18 to 34 about the things that they're passionate about. But we've also created individual show apps and apps around individual people. And I'm not sure which one is going to get the biggest take-up, but my suspicion is that once you love Techzilla or Epic Mealtime or Soldier Knows Best, that's the app you're going to want to put across all these devices. Forget the network, forget the aggregation, just enable that one-to-one connection.
So it's not about making Revision 3 the name, it's about the show.
Actually, I think it's a blend. I think that you'll see value propositions all over the place where curation is a part of it, but also allowing the direct relationship. That's why search is so important as well, because somebody may say, oh, I heard about something, I don't remember what network it is, what brand it is. Search allows you to find it, and then you can play it. So
right, there's 7 stages of love, right? It's like you got to find it first, and you don't fall in love and go to bed right away, at least not when you're not in Monaco. But what you have to start with, oh my God, that's cute. Oh, and that happens through search, and that happens through networks. But once you have a relationship, that's where the network needs to get out of the way.
It also depends on the age and of the user and where they like to go. We just recently announced a deal with Disney, and one of the reasons why they were interested in working with us after many years was because they've actually seen a decline in their own unique users on their own website by over 30–40% in the past year. They lost hundreds of millions on their own Disney Interactive Media services. So they're great storytellers. And when content creators start to get involved in creating and developing technology, then they can also lose sight of the best places to distribute their content.
Okay, so I'm going to give you guys just a few more minutes to think of questions. But Miles, with you talked earlier about celebrities or individuals becoming networks themselves, and I just wondered what opportunities you thought there were, especially with social media now, for individuals to capitalize upon the new networks.
Yeah, I mean, I'll piggyback on what Jim was saying, because I think really what it boils down to is does the consumer have an emotional connection with this brand? If they have an emotional connection with this brand, if it has enough depth to it from a content standpoint or like an interest category standpoint, then I think, yes, you can build a network around it. So, our big focus now is working with celebrities to manage and monetize their brand online. But it's not like from a PR standpoint, it's more from the standpoint of them being a content like portal unto themselves, sort of like an Oprah.com or a MarthaStewart.com, but doing that for people like Bethany Frankel, Lauren Conrad, Nick Cannon, a whole bunch of them. And I think really the opportunity for celebrities, it does tie back to the opportunity for all content creators, which is to actually be able to interact directly with their audience for the first time in a meaningful way without having middlemen. And then the second thing is actually having some ownership and control over that relationship. So, all of the relationships that we have with this talent is such that we're basically like a distributor, an infrastructure partner, and they're actually the studios that own the intellectual property and own that audience relationship. So I think that there's a huge amount of both short-term and long-term value for that. So in the short term, they can make money. They can take something that was formerly a cost center for them, paying some web developer to build a site, and then it just sits there and it looks nice, but no one goes there, to actually a revenue center. And then the second and the more, I think, exciting kind of long-term opportunities are around data analysis and things like that, where, if you're Lauren, you can actually figure out what your fans like the most. What is their favorite clothing item that you're selling right now through Kohl's? What are the topics that they're talking about? Who are the individuals on your network, on your site or your Twitter, that, who are the influencers? Mm-hmm. And then actually leveraging that for development of new product lines or new TV shows or book lines or whatever that might be.
Okay, and final one from me, and then I'll open up to the floor. In the traditional TV space, there's a lot of money in live events, the big group live viewing events. And I just wondered, when are these networks going to be having, and I know that various ones, you've done live events, there's live content, but when is it going to be appointment to view content, and how does that work in terms of you guys making money? When are we going to think, right, I've got to go to VEVO right now because something's happening in the music world and I'm going to go watch it there, not on MTV?
Right, so
just to start with you.
we produce, co-produce, co-distribute about 45 to 50 live music events per year right now, some in partnership with YouTube, some in partnership with other companies. And what we see is, and I was a little skeptical at first about, the web is about on demand, my time, not your time. Why should I drop everything on a Sunday at 9 p.m. to do something? I want to watch it when I want to watch it, not when you tell me to watch it. So I was a little bit skeptical that that there would be a lot of opportunity for mini live events at scale. Right? There's a Super Bowl, a World Cup, Olympics. There's a few things that everybody would want to see together. Yeah. But what we've seen is that that's not the case. So we did a Coldplay from Madrid with YouTube recently, and
what type of money can you make around that?
Millions of dollars. You can make
any specifics?
From our particular business.
Purely.
Well, it's both. I think you can do. So we see millions of people watching a live event. We see, we did the World Cup opening concert from South Africa. We had 5 million people watching that. But in the 2 weeks that follows, we had 25 million people watching the on-demand clips. So it's a combination of live and on-demand. In a 1 to 2 week period, you can reach a very substantial amount of people. You can tie sponsorships in from who are on-site, physical, location-based sponsors, who are then activating it to a much larger audience online. But it's out of our revenue, which we've not disclosed yet. It's
Do you
probably
feel like doing that now?
No. I can say that in less than 2 years, we've invested over $100 million or paid out over $100 million to content providers. So in royalties, which is more than any other music video service has in decades. So it's at the end of the day, it is a very big business, live events.
Okay, I'm sorry, just to bring Alan and then Jim wanted to comment.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of take on live streaming of video games. As you know, in certain countries in Asia, for example, there are even television networks dedicated to StarCraft leagues and that kind of activity. And in a way, it's sort of like long tail. I mean, obviously, if you're doing like Lady Gaga or you're doing some huge event that's kind of a major event that's a little bit like live television, But I think what we'll see on the internet is that there's lots of opportunities for live events, and it can actually be more of a programming model than a specific event at a time. So for example, these live streaming of games is an opportunity, but also small sporting events. I mean, there's lots of things that don't have to be the Super Bowl and the World Cup and the Academy Awards to be something that's that's a viable business.
Well, and there has to be an editorial reason to go live. Live for live's sake just doesn't work, and you see a lot of people trying to do that. What we've learned, a couple different things, is one is that you've got to take people places that they want to go but they can't go. So for example, the Consumer Electronics Show in January in Las Vegas, huge deal. Everyone wants to go see the latest gadgets, don't y'all? But you can't all go to Vegas. So we'll be going live from there, and we've done this the past couple years, where we will bring you to that event virtually where you couldn't otherwise go. We do the same thing at gaming conferences like E3 and PAX. We do it for other places. But the other thing that we found, which ties into, Rio, what you were saying, is that we also find that our viewers, the ones that love us, remember they're at stage 7 where they will love us forever, they also like the idea of being part of the creation of the show. So we may only get 1 or 2% of our overall audience for one of our shows, but we'll do them live every now and then, and they'll be there and they'll engage and they'll comment and they'll tell their friends, and eventually we'll get all the views that we would get. But by jump-starting it with that core group, even if it's in studio and live, we've brought them into this experience and allowed them to be part of the creation of it in a way that they couldn't before. But if you're not bringing them somewhere that they can't go to but that they want to go to, there's no reason to do live.
And Patrick, sorry?
Yeah, and there are two things. One, in a world where boundaries are broken geographically, and people are in different time zones for major events, live and making live available online or on tablets or on handsets or on connected devices is very important. The royal wedding was on every broadcast network in the world, but there were still 100 million streams on YouTube because it was more circumstantial. And the other thing that's very important, the second part is that nobody's mentioned, is that the web is social. And the beauty of doing a live event online, and it doesn't apply to all content types, sports, music, news, gaming, for example, when things are happening, the thing that TV doesn't give you today is the ability to, in real time, interact with your mates, with your friends, with those that you don't know, seeing comments, integration of Twitter, integration of chat with Google Plus Hangouts. These things are very attractive to people, and in a world where the TV doesn't provide that, what you have are people using 2 screens, laptop or handset, interacting with their friends while they're watching something like the X Factor Live. So those 2 things are critical, and until the day, and it's not too far off, where TV is in itself social through things like connected televisions, they will continue to come online for live.
Yeah, social, I would agree, is a huge component of the live experience. And I think Jim was talking about how it's really important for it to be special. And actually, the thing that we find, we make it part of like the regular programming experience. So because we have celebrities, there is a very emotional connection between the audience and those individuals. So on a very regular basis, we'll do lots and lots of live events. We actually typically do more in terms of live chat and actually bringing people together. So we work with JWoww from the Jersey Shore, and they just had a season finale, and we had up to like 17,000 concurrent people as part of this live chat at any given moment that were part of this season finale live chat with JWoww. And that's just one example of dozens of different live chats and live, we do a monthly book club on a lot of our sites. And there's actually a live component to that too, where the whole community will get together and chat and talk about the book in real time. And I think it's that combination of, number 1, it being special, number 2, having that emotional connection, and then number 3, curating the experience. I think that's really a critical component as well, because if you're not curating that experience, it kind of heads into chaos. No matter what the tools are, it kind of doesn't work.